WD18, the Watford Fans channel, here for a brand new match day preview. You know what that means? It means the Orns are back. We kickstart our championship season tomorrow night against Middlesbrough in a 7:45 kickoff, live on Sky Sports and of course Hive Live, the new streaming platform for all Watford games, of course, this season, where once again there are no fans inside the stadiums, and we hope that might be able to change at some point this season. It'd be great to get, of course, inside the ground. But for this first game, it is still behind closed doors. We kickstart things on a Friday night, of course, for season in the Championship, following Watford's relegation, of course, to the Championship. It's a new season. There's a bit of a new team. There's a sense of freshness, you know, almost like a dawn, almost like a spring morning, if that makes sense to anyone. You can tell just how excited I am anyway. A lot of new signings, some returning faces, question marks over some old faces as well, which I'm sure will be adding a lot of drama until at least the end of October, when the transfer window does close. But of course, as a lot of fans will know, we've signed a lot of new players. Some just off the top of my head, of course, Purvis Estupiñán being one of the big ones as well at left back. I expect him to get a start on Friday night. Looking across, of course, the rest of the team, you've got Francisco Sirialta, a centre back. Not sure if he'll be a starter yet. It remains to be seen. Right back, Jeremy Ngakia, who I thought put in a great shift against Spurs. You've got the midfield as well, Will Hughes, who at the moment looks out, but you look at him already and he's going to be a pivotal part of our team this season, as is Domingos Quina, another man who had a fantastic show against Spurs. And then, of course, up front, Luis Suarez, I think the one guy who's been really touted as someone who could do big things this season. A massive player for Zaragoza last season. And we'll be looking to him to provide the goals and a little bit of flair as well up front, a little bit of South American flair. On paper, this squad, I think, has been tweeted about earlier on today from a few podcaster hosts that do a lot of the Championship action. They all look very impressed. I think the fans are very impressed. There's a lot of optimism going into this season, and from our perspective, Vladimir Ivic has got his priorities actually crystal clear, because as he said in his interview this week, the first interview that he actually did with the club, the aim is promotion. And the club, I think even Adam Leventhal tweeted this when he came in, the aim will be promotion, and he'll be given a second year if we get promoted to the Premier League. That being said, the aim being so clear, there's a lot of pressure on him as a manager. There's a lot of pressure on us as a squad as well. You know, we've got to turn up, really. We've got to go, as the form book has said. You know, a lot of people have put us down as either automatic promotion or at least third spot, and of course going into the playoffs. I feel like from my perspective, playoffs has got to be the aim. Automatic promotion would be fantastic and would be a great season if we were able to do that. But I think just as a starting block, we've got to look at that third spot, getting into the playoffs as well. Third, fourth, fifth and sixth. That's got to be our aim. Sixth upwards. Let's just go for that. Because of course things are not going to be as straightforward. And they're certainly not going to be as straightforward for us. You know, I mentioned some of those names at the start. Not every player is going to be available, of course, as we of course all know. The likes of Gerard Deulofeu, Daryl Janmaat, Isaac Success are all out with long-term injuries. Troy Deeney's also obviously out as well. A lot of speculation about his future. Aside from that, though, Andre Gray picked up an injury last week. He'll be out for a couple of weeks, as will Hughes. So a lot of players, a lot of really kind of key players to this team, and potentially even to our squad. We know how long the Championship season is. We know how much of a slog it is, you know. Maybe it makes sense for us to keep some of these kind of players that are, you know, perhaps maybe not favourites with the team, you know, and within the squad. I kind of say that with Troy in mind. Of course, the squad numbers came out today. He's still number 9, and I think a lot of fans, including myself as well, that was calling for potentially a change of captain. I feel like that would have happened already, and I have a feeling that certain players that look likely to leave may well end up staying, or may be playing part of like a larger squad. You know, we never know what's going to happen. And of course, with some of these kind of squad players, it may well be good to kind of keep them in and around the team. Of course, that's not me saying that Troy should stay or Troy should leave. You know, it may well be beneficial for us to keep some of these players. We know, as having followed Watford up and down in the Championship and in the Premier League over the last 5 seasons or so, Watford have struggled with injuries, and we've struggled to kind of keep the squad as fresh as we possibly can. And, you know, the Premier League was tough. Always is tough. The sheer number of games, especially this season, of course, with the early finish because of the Euros, means games are going to be back to back to back. Saturday, midweek, Saturday, midweek, Saturday, midweek from, I think, October through until potentially actually April. So it's going to be very intense. And I think that's maybe, we talk about this team and, the kind of the greatness that I think it could potentially be on paper. We've got a great squad. We're waiting for a lot of those players, though, to come back. Key players, I think, as well in some cases. Interesting, though, going up against our opponents on Friday night, they're going to be Middlesbrough, of course, managed by everyone's favourite Championship manager, Neil Warnock. I'm sure he'll be giving us quite a lot of things to talk about this season. Not a whole lot of team news, actually, from them, but one thing that did kind of stand out for me when I listened, actually saw a little bit of his press conference, was that Watford have 11 players out. We have 11 players that we can pick from at the moment. That's kind of his struggles. I know that actually have just signed a goalkeeper in Marcus Bettinelli. Warnock seemingly frustrated by the number of new incomings coming into his side. But I guarantee he'll have that Middlesbrough side well drawn. They'll be well aware of the challenge that faces them tomorrow night as well. A lot of fans have been predicting them to have a very strong season. It's a big test of their credentials tomorrow as well, and we mustn't take this lightly. It's hard to not be swept along with all the optimism, but we should maybe just urge just a little bit of caution. The Championship is a tough division, and from what we saw last season, and I'm sorry to bring it back to last season, but the absolutely dire performances and our inability to stay up with the squad of players that we had was frankly alarming. We shouldn't take this division lightly. As I've said, plenty of teams will be looking at us as potentially the bogey team, the team that they want to try and go off and beat. But we've been there, we've done that, and we've come back with, I think, some great players in this squad. Vladimir Ivic, if he can get them firing, if he can get them going, we could be in for a great season, of course. The only downside to all of this, of course, on a great season is we may not even be there to witness that inside a stadium, and it is such a shame. But it is what it is, and it is where we currently are. We need to make the most of it, and that starts Friday night against Middlesbrough. Tough set of fixtures as well coming up, of course. For me, there are no such things as easy matches, of course. We go to Sheffield Wednesday, who have had their problems off the pitch. Next weekend, then of course the weekend after that, it's the one that we've all been waiting for at Vicarage Road against Luton Town. Games will come thick and fast. The players need to be up for it. The big thing for me, and I think I've kind of mentioned this, I think I maybe even have mentioned this on live streams as well on Instagram and all that, the difference between our time last time in the Championship, in our promotion season, was that we had a group of players that would run through brick walls for us every single game week. We didn't get a result midweek, they'd bounce back on Saturday. But you could physically see them bouncing back, and you could physically see the levels of determination that they had, the grit, the tenacity that we played with, and that's what made that season so fantastic for us. We need to have the same kind of levels for this season. Some people say this league is weaker than it has been. I don't think we can even begin to speculate about that until at least a few months into the season. At least by Christmas, we'll kind of know whether that's true or not. But football is back. The Orns are back, and I, for one, am absolutely delighted. There's been a lot of refresh in the squad. Whether that's good or not, we'll soon see. The youngsters got a lot of pressure on them to perform, but I'm confident that we will have a good season. I'm not going to make a prediction about the season, or maybe I will, I don't know. As I say, I think playoffs have to be the aim. Anything less than that for me would be a bit of a failure. But my prediction for Friday night, I'm going to go for a home win, a win for the Orns. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Watford win. I don't think it'll be an easy game. I think it'll be quite a tight game, quite nervy. But don't expect Middlesbrough's defence to give us anything, really. I think we'll have to battle for a lot, and there'll be a lot of games like that this season. But let's see what happens. Don't forget, of course, if you did like this video, don't forget to leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe to WD18. We've got lots of content coming up in what's going to be a very busy season for us. So do that for me for now, and I'll be back next week for another match preview. Take care.